Here's one of my favorite scriptures, Proverbs 19:3. A man's own folly ruins his life, yet his heart rages against the Lord. And I always put in brackets, which means I'm adding it, and others. Okay? So what this basically say is a person's mistakes, choices, sin, foolishness ruins their own life, but then they blame it on other people. So the title of this video is The Toxicity of Blame. And we're going to talk about blame, and I hope it's going to help you to understand it better so that you can help the blame to not be so toxic in your life, whether it's coming from you or coming toward you from another person. So when a person does not want to take responsibility for himself or herself, the person will blame someone else. Blame started in the Garden of Eden. When Adam and Eve chose to take that apple, it says that Eve took it and gave some to Adam. Their eyes were opened and they were aware of sin. Okay, that was bringing sin into their life, and they were self-conscious, and they were, because they went and they ran away from God, and God says, the account in scripture is that God was walking in the garden, and he came and he said, Adam and Eve, where are you? Well, they were hiding. They were hiding from God, because as soon as their eyes were open to sin, they were aware or conscious of their sinfulness, conscious of who they were, and they were ashamed in front of God. So they were hiding. Well, what did they do with that shame? When God said, where are you? And God knew, because God was God, but God also said, did you do something you weren't supposed to do? Did you eat that apple? And they were like, oh, no, 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 no. They lied. And then when they had to admit it, they turned around and they blamed anyone and everyone. Adam said, well, it wasn't my fault. It was the woman that you gave me, God. You gave me this woman. And Eve said, no, it wasn't my fault. It was the serpent who tempted me. So they didn't want to take responsibility. They did this, which we still do in relationship. We take our fingers and we have one pointing at us from the other person, and our fingers pointing back at the other person. What happens when you do that? You get nowhere, okay? So blame becomes toxic or harmful in your relationship. So blame affects us. It does not feel good to be blamed by somebody. It does not feel good to be told that you're responsible for something that you're not responsible for. Actually, it doesn't even feel good to be told you're responsible for something you are responsible for, because immediately we're all, like Adam and Eve, we're all defensive and we're wanting to make excuses, and we have a tendency to want to lie or cover up or rationalize. But blame doesn't feel good. When somebody blames you for something that isn't your responsibility, it upsets you. It affects you negatively. Blamers are also very manipulative and exploitive. They exploit your weaknesses. They'll blame you for things that they know that you kind of have a weakness to kind of feel bad about. So the blamer will say, well, it's your fault. So the wife gets mad and nags her husband and says, you know, why didn't you come home on time? And I need you to do this, this, and that. And then he says, you're so miserable. I don't want to be around you. I'm going to the bar. And so he's blaming her for his choice to go to the bar. What he doesn't say is that he was thinking about it anyway. And now that's his excuse, but she's going to feel bad. Well, if I hadn't said that, if I hadn't nagged him, then he wouldn't go to the bar. So he knows that by saying that to her, she's going to feel bad, and maybe he's going to get excused for going to the bar. So they exploit weaknesses. They know how to get to you and what responsibility you'll accept that they can throw onto you. Kids are great at that, you know. It's your fault that I didn't bring my papers to school because, you know, you asked me to do this work this morning and I didn't have time to grab my papers, when they are the ones that didn't get up on time. I remember I had a daughter that would always tell me, it's your fault I'm up late, and I would be confused. What have I done? I tried to get her up on time. It's not my fault. But again, just throw it out. Blame is chronic. If it's chronic and hostile, can actually cross over into abuse. One of the things abusers do is blame their victims. So blame can become so prevalent and so chronic in the relationship that it becomes abusive. It is manipulative. It is to get the person what they want, to make you go away, to make you give in, to make you give what the person is trying to get from you, to get you to feel responsible. I'll give you an example. I had a teenage daughter who said to me one time when I was upset with her and disciplining her, "You're such an awful mom, I never want children." Well, that was devastating to me for a while. And then I kind of understood the purpose of that, because I thought, wow, I want to be a really good mom. Like, being a good mom meant everything to me. And I didn't want to be a bad mom. And if I was a bad mom that was so bad that she didn't want children ever, then I better change my ways. Well, maybe in that case, that was to give in to her. Like I said, that worked for a while, and then I figured it out. My husband and I had a very difficult marriage, and he blamed me for everything and refused to look at himself for many, many, many years. It was all my fault. It was all me making it up, me being upset, me pointing out wrongs that didn't exist. But I, in turn, blamed him for the fact that I was upset and had marriage problems. And then I would be, kind of short with the kids or impatient. And then I would say, that's his fault because he won't deal with the problems and he's doing this. So again, we were doing this back and forth. Didn't get anywhere. So blame is toxic because it's unhealthy. Toxic means harm. So blame is toxic to a relationship because it's harmful to a relationship. If somebody is blaming you, you have to learn to detach and recognize that if that blame is not due, you separate yourself from it and you refuse to take it on. You say, I'm not responsible for that. I'm not accepting it. If you know that you blame other people for stuff in the relationship that you need to take responsibility for, purpose to start today, taking responsibility and stop your blaming. You might find that that very thing makes a huge difference in your relationship. It could very well be the thing that will help you turn a relationship around. Thank you very much for watching this video on Change My Relationship.